Hello, and welcome to another book review. This one is Kissed by the Krampus, Monsters in My Bed, Book 1 by L. Eveland. This book is, the cover is phenomenal, I just gotta say, and I did judge it by its cover, and I will openly judge it by its cover, because that is the finest chest and abs I've ever seen in my life, and also if it's Krampus, hell yeah, it's up my alley. So, as we go through this, as we normally go through, we're going to touch on the story. So there's going to be big spoilers ahead for the story, so just be warned. This book is a little bit all over the place in terms of the story, so there's going to be a little bit more explanation than normal because it has a lot. But I'm excited to read more if they do more, because this is Monsters in My Bed Book 1. I'm hoping that the rest is equally as good. So let's start off with the characters, and of which there is two that I really care to note. We have Kris Kringle. He's a veteran who is not doing well with PTSD from the war. He was not ruthlessly mocked for his name, aka called Christmas, by the other grunts and officers in the military. He does have his grandmother who is worried for him, and he's jobless and kind of struggling through with life in general. He's not doing too well. No offense, as most people aren't from the war. Just full stop. He just wants to prove that he isn't weak or helpless, and that's kind of his big thing, is just kind of his sense of masculinity, his sense as a man, I guess you could say, or just like as a human. And then obviously we have the Krampus, Oliver or Ollie. Chris is the one who gives Oliver his name, or Ollie. Krampus is a sweet cinnamon roll. I love Krampus. He is a bit like Ariel from The Little Mermaid, whereas he collects just random stuff from his outings, like old cans of food and stuff from the dumpster, and like old rocking chairs and like furs and blankets and stuff like that. He has magic. Obviously, he's Krampus, and he can teleport anywhere from the South Pole. So he lives in the South Pole. There's other Krampuses kind of vying and living in places. They're not like a major species, but in this universe, monsters aren't known. Well, we'll get into it. But those are the two characters, and obviously they're going to fall in love. So let's go into the story then. So it's nearing Christmas, and Kris Kringle is not happy with the approaching holiday, as his name was constantly made fun of. He is going out to visit his war buddies Hot Dog and Chappie, and then visit his grandmother, who, because of his bad attitude, if you will, warns him about the Krampus legend. You know, if you're ho-hum, bah humbug over the holidays, Krampus will come get you. While he's driving home, he is surprised by a giant horned creature on the road and swerves to avoid it, crashing his car and ultimately being severely injured. When he wakes up, he is in a bed of fur and realizes that he's not in a hospital. But he's dealing with major pain, and he realizes that he's like bandaged, and he's got like, some healing going on, but he's not doing too well. But in the corner of the room, he spots a large, fuzzy, monstrous creature with a pair of knitting needles and is knitting something. At first, Chris is afraid to flee, At first, Chris is afraid and tries to flee, but his injuries prevent him from really making it that far. I think he stands up and collapses. Then he realizes that the Krampus, who he then calls Oliver or Ollie, isn't out to kill him or eat him alive. Chris, at some point, like after he gets him back into the bed and the nest, he promises to rest and heal and asks if he can go home once he's better. Ollie agrees, and the pair begin to get close as friends, as, for example, Ollie gifts Chris a knit sweater that he made. Ollie leaves to hunt the alien bug things, which is kind of what his job is as a Krampus, is to hunt things that are harming humans and stuff like that. He does come back severely injured, and Chris then tends to his wounds. There's a nest that Ollie found that they need to prepare for and decimate, otherwise more of these bug-like creatures are just going to populate, and essentially they act like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, if you will, but they kill the host and take their form and try and live their life, if you will. So he goes to one of his shops where the guy knows him and tries to get some supplies for war, basically. But when there, he finds out that his grandmother's cards specifically, because again he's broke and jobless, was canceled, and that he's been listed dead for weeks because he's been dead because they found his car crash, and he's been in the South Pole and nobody found him. So after the shop incident, he and Ollie get ambushed by the military, special forces of some kind, they realize. And then they take one as the hostage, as the rest were just bugged people pretending to be in the military. and they take them on hostage. The officer that they took hostage, Walker, explains what the government knows about monsters and that they are ultimately had a facility where they are in control of the bug-like aliens, which is no good. Ollie, deciding to leave and go, try and destroy the military facility, gets captured by the military bugs. As they decide to find him on the South Pole, they just show up, capture him, and then they leave Chris and Walker stranded. Except Walker has a device that can be used to teleport to the facility, so they do that. Once inside the facility, the man in charge, Parker, reveals that he has brainwashed Ollie using some sort of gas and turned him into a mindless, ruthless monster, and he quotes, "It's the true form of this creature." They're also controlling the Bug Queen via a kind of mind control helmet, and thus all the bugs that Ollie are killing are basically essentially controlled, and that this is what they're trying to do, is just kind of breed them. They mentioned that, we'll get into this in the tropes, but Parker mentions the fact that this queen can breed thousands and thousands of bodies, and they're using them as sacrifices, basically. So, like I said, Parker is using the benefit of the Bug Queen for the benefit of the military, but Chris is able to get through to Ollie, and with the help of Walker, they defeat Parker by releasing all the monsters that the government had captured. The Bug Queen is now free of the mind control device, helps them escape from the facility, and essentially it's a happily ever after that. As I mentioned, we'll touch on the tropes, and I think this will probably explain a little bit more of what the plot is. So it's obviously a monster-human relationship. We have Krampus with a fully endowed body, a stinger tail that can induce lust into their mate, and, horns in love, fuck some human, basically like that. It's basically one of the best monster-human stories I've ever read thus far. But as far as the secret government agency, of course monsters are real and the government knows about them. That's kind of the plot point of this book. The later books go into more of the agency, I'm guessing, and one of the employees is the one that falls in love in the next one, which is interesting. I like that take where it's okay, the government is now found out, the monsters know, but now there's a government agent falling in love with a monster. That's great. One of the things that I felt was interesting is there's a big reveal at the end about magical artifacts that actually exist as well. So Parker wants to make Philosopher's Stones, and because he wants to make them, he needs human sacrifices. Thus why he's capturing the Bug Queen. And he's doing that because the Philosopher's Stone basically gives immortality to the holder. So it's basically just, if it's used for the military, hordes of immortal soldiers that they can do with what they will. So it's basically military being military, but in a darker sense. But military being military is also dark in its own sense. So I do like that. But a lot of the story, especially I would say the first half, if you will, focuses primarily on Ollie and Chris's relationship, and I think that's great. They get drunk, they have sex, they get injured, they tend to each other's wounds. It's very fluffy, it's light, very very much slice of life romance, and I thought that was going to be it. And then when it gets to the more military government secret stuff, I was like, that's interesting. I also like that. There's a lot less sex, I would say, in the later half, just because of the nature of the plot, which we'll touch on, but it's not my favorite. I don't mind the plot, but I just, it feels very much fluffy in the beginning and then super serious at the end, and I kind of wish it was fluffy, serious, fluffy in a way, like a sandwich, but we'll go on to it. So as far as the rankings go, again, we'll touch on the plot, the characters, the writing style, the spicy scenes, and just overall what my thoughts were on the book. The plot I did enjoy. It wasn't the traditional romance that I would normally go for. I like, not slice of life, but slice of life is the best way I can say it. I like slice of life romances, and this was mostly slice of life up until, like I said, until about the halfway point or so, when the government really steps in and fucks shit up as the government's one to do. But I did enjoy the overall aspect of the romance in terms of Chris meeting Ollie falling for Chris, this, that, and the other, their drinking situation that they have, the truth and dare that they have, the relationship when Ollie comes back injured and Chris tends to his wounds. I think stuff like that's really nice, and the dynamic they have in relation to each other is great, which I'm guessing I'm talking about the characters as well. So again, characters are also great, but the things that kind of detain me from giving it a 5 is things like Walker shows up, Parker gets introduced, and I'm I don't know who any of these people are. I got no sense of real who Hot Dog or Chappie really are, except for they like video games and goofing off and having a good time, and they're trying to rekindle their childhood and stuff like that, and are like trying to just like live the best life that they can after the war kind of fucked them up. Chris, I guess I didn't mention this, but Chris does also have a little bit of regrets because he switches seats with Hot Dog, I believe, in like the Humvees and stuff that they were driving, and then one of them gets blown up, the one that Hot Dog was in, and because of this, Hot Dog is now bound to a wheelchair, which Chris kind of blames himself for. And so it's like, you know, the dynamic between Chris and Hot Dog doesn't really go beyond that, other than like the regret. It's really Chris and Ollie's talking and discussion of that Chris begins to heal. And I kind of wish it was like more involved with the friends. I mean, the fact that also Ollie meets the friends, I think is great, but I just wish there was a little bit more that was like between the actual two people who were involved with each other. As far as the writing style goes, I think this is great. I love the characterization, the writing style, the delivery of things. All in all, I would read like all of these books, and in fact, I think I might. I am really looking forward to the next monster in my bed. I'm really looking forward to getting it and reading it. So this one has definitely had a hook in me since I read it. I love monster fuckers, and I'm a monster fucker, so this is great. And the writing style was clear, concise, other than the fact that I just didn't know who the characters were by the end of it, because like I knew who Walker was because we spent a little bit of time with him, but the fact that Parker shows up out of nowhere, I was like, I don't understand this. Like, I understand this is supposed to be a big bad guy, but like I wish, maybe it's me not reading it, but I just wish there was a little bit more. But the writing of it was great. I got a sense for who monsters were. I got an idea of what the monsters looked like, the sense of scale in the world, and I think that really helped with the whole kind of story that they were portraying here. And then the spicy scenes are 5 out of 5. I couldn't give it not a 5 out of 5. It's Krampus. I love Krampus. I'm a monster fucker through and through. So this book had its hooks in me literally since the minute I picked it up, and I enjoyed every minute of the wild ride. So overall, this is a great book. Again, I would say 4.5. I wish I could give it 5, but the character and plot just weigh it down a little bit for me. But I really do enjoy this. In fact, I'm really looking forward to the next book, and when I do read the next book, I will give you another review for it because I am a big fan of what this author is putting out. L. Eveland, I'm a big fan. You've got your hooks in me, and I hopefully that means the Krampus is going to come claim me at some point. So let's go into some recommendations that I have. This is a little bit harder since it's pure monster fucker. I haven't read that much pure monsters in terms of like, yeah, this is Krampus, who is basically a furry human, but some other monsters exist. Both of these, I believe, are books that I have reviewed or will review. I know I've reviewed Stone Wings. I love that book too. I've also read but haven't made a review for The Sea Monsters Mate, but these are both of the books I would recommend. So Jen Burke and Delaney Rain are two authors that I'm newer to, but I loved both of these books. Stone Wings, I say, is a little bit harder for me to recommend fully because it's purely just humans who have, or Gargoyle is presenting as humans, so most of the time they're human, but like they have gargoyle powers and like wings and they turn to stone and shit. It's like harder for me to recommend that because it's basically, in my opinion, two humans. But The Sea Monsters Mate is like monster fucker, breeding monster, monster breeding human romance, and I'm a big fan. It's short, it's sweet. I think The Sea Monsters Mate is like 150 pages, while Stone Wings is a little longer. Again, we're not judging based on length here because all sizes are equal. In my mind, I'll take any size. But I do like both books. I think they're both great, and I definitely recommend both of them. They're not my favorite in terms of monster fuckers because, Sea Monsters Mate might be one of my favorites in terms of monster fuckers, but Stone Wings, close, but misses the mark in some aspects. So again, they're both good reads. I definitely recommend both of them. So if you want more humans stuff with like kind of monster elements, go Stone Wings. If you want pure monster fucker, monster breeding smut, go for The Sea Monsters Mate because they're both great. And so, without further ado, I would like to give a special shout out to my patron, Potato Kingdom. Thank you so much for Potato Kingdom for being here and supporting me month over month. I appreciate all that you do for me, and I also appreciate all the help that you give me on these videos and the projects that I'm working on. So, if you want to follow me anywhere and check on what I'm doing, I stream nightly on twitch.tv. You can find me there. I'm also on Twitter if you ever want to hear my deranged thoughts or just kind of screaming into the void that I sometimes do. And if you do want to support me, it's not required. You can also do support on Patreon. Either or, I appreciate you guys just watching these videos. If you want to share them with your friends, that'd be great. If you want to share them with people who aren't your friends because you don't want your friends to know what you're looking at or what you're into, I also respect that. But if you do want to just spread the word, do all the YouTube-y things, like, comment, subscribe, I appreciate all the help you guys can give me in getting this out there. Mainly because I know these are simple videos to make for me, but I just really like talking about books, and I don't think I'll ever stop doing this, because I read these books and there's just so much I like and so much I want to share about them. So I appreciate you guys helping me and believe in this dream. I thank you all so much, and I'll see you guys in the next book review. Stay thirsty, friends.